It's May 1st, 2026. Magic the Gathering has revealed a new card for the upcoming crossover with The Hobbit. Another version of the One Ring illustrated by Dan Frazier, a veteran of the MTG art community with over 30 years under his belt. Hours after the reveal, questions began to circulate. The community went up in arms, and everyone had the same question on their lips. Was this card forged in the fires of his own creation, or stolen from somewhere else? One artist to draw the first, one artist to take it, one artist to face the first, and in the darkness trace it. When this card was released, it was instantly met with some criticism due to its plainness and to its similarity to an earlier depiction of the One Ring. Then, Redditor Stiggy1605 made a startling discovery. The new art by Dan Frazier looked like an almost mirrored version of Marta Nael's version, almost as if he had copied it, removing the elvish while leaving the flickering fire reflections that just don't really fit. A few hours later, another artist veteran within the community, Donato Giancola, released this Facebook post. Wizards of the Coast just released a very sorry excuse for the most important card in their upcoming Hobbit set. They just digitally sampled the previous One Ring card from the Lord of the Rings set and flipped and deleted the elvish runes. I doubt Dan Frazier had any real say in how this came about. Dan Frazier's agent, Mark Aronowitz, said that he did not have any say in this and that they never saw this version. At this point, the community was sure that Wizards of the Coast had forced this copied art over the finish line and Dan was completely unaware. They were wrong. A day later, the Wizards of the Coast released this message addressing how fans noticed the similarities between Marta Nael and Dan Frazier's version of the One Ring. Dan's apology acknowledges that he made a mistake and that while looking at references online, he ended up using Marta's ring as a reference and painted over it. In his letter, he apologizes for letting fans down. Then Wizards of the Coast go on to say that they were very disappointed that this happened and that their review process failed to catch the issue. Dan and Wizards of the Coast both said that they reached out to apologize to Marta Nael, and that while none of it was intentional, they were going to try to make it right. They're going to credit both artists on digital versions of the card, while also making sure Marta gets compensated for her work. Side note here, while this theft to me is obviously wrong, Wizards of the Coast buys full rights to all their art, which means that legally, they aren't required to compensate Marta. Wizards of the Coast goes on to state that this was a mistake committed by both Dan and themselves, and they go on to thank the eagle-eyed fans that caught this mistake. Critics say that there's a big difference between using reference art and completely tracing over it and barely modifying it. This was crazy to me. I was surprised that a veteran artist like Dan Frazier would go so far as to take this shortcut. What do you think about him tracing this art? What about their apology letter? Please let me know your thoughts, and as always, have a great day.